Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. We're just days away from a moment that I've been talking about this entire year, the end of the Jubilee. So today's video will be dedicated to everything you need to know to prepare for this moment that only comes around once every 50 years. So you can be one of the few that take advantage of one of the best opportunities this market has to offer. And by the end of today's video, you'll have knowledge that 99% of investors are unaware of. And this is what will allow you to have an edge on this market and to be part of this wealth transfer, to be the few that actually take action during a time of chaos in this economy. So you're definitely going to want to watch this until the end, because this video will be packed with gems from start to finish. And for the special occasion of the end of Jubilee, I decided to run a flash sale on my courses until the end of this weekend. So for the next couple days, this sale is now live at watersabove.com/Jubilee, and you can use the promo code Jubilee at checkout. You can also find the discount information in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below, and I'm really appreciative and grateful for all of your continued support. It means the world to me. Every week I receive incredible feedback from those who've invested in themselves by investing in one of my courses, and it's a common theme to hear how much of a transformation it's been for them on their journey. So if you're one of those supporters who've gone through one of my courses, feel free to share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear some of your breakthroughs and wisdom you've acquired. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. So this is effectively leading us into the new Hebrew year, Rosh Hashanah, which is the end of the Jubilee. And Rosh Hashanah ends at sundown on September 17th, effectively making September 18th the first official day of the new Hebrew year when considering the Gregorian calendar. And since this date lands on a Monday, it would be the start of a new trading week in the stock market. And it's also the same trading week as the next FOMC meeting, where Fed Chair Powell will be speaking 2 days later on Wednesday, September 20th. So, of course, we should expect volatility during this week, which is the usual story with the week of an FOMC meeting. But what most people are unaware of in the collective is that we're moments away from the end of a Jubilee year, a year that comes around only once every 50 years, as mentioned in the intro. And we have historic data to show that during pre-election years, which we could get into this data right here, well, we tend to end the month of September actually in the red, with October being more of a neutral month. But remember, the months of September and October are historically when we've had all of our big market crashes or have led into recessions. Now, I personally do not feel that we're going to be moving into a long, arduous bear market. I believe those days are behind us. I actually feel that in the crypto market, we're in phase one of a new bull run, but we need to bring up what's going on in the traditional markets and what's going on in the world stage and look at it holistically in order to understand what's going on here in the big picture. And with what's happened over the past, let's just call it, entire year of 2023 so far in the stock market, we can see that we've been on a perpetual relief rally, and it's starting to not make too much sense anymore. And I believe that many, even in the collective, are waking up to this. Anybody who's an investor can see what's happening here, and that it's not really something that can keep going on forever, let's just say. It's mostly just kicking the can down the road. So with this current state of affairs and the fact that we have a lot of pre-election year data showing us that the month of September is typically red, no matter if we're looking at past 10 years, past 20 years in the S&P, or just specifically isolating it to pre-election years. This is a very important thing to be aware of, because as we move into an election year, Q1 is actually a really solid time frame. So we know that we're more likely in the red for the next month, potentially even in the beginning of October. And then we have this nice recovery moment into December. I think that's important to be aware of. So with all of that being shared, The fact that we have the months of September and October historically being when we have all of our big market crashes. So if there's any time to expect a black swan event, it's now. And if you're new to my channel and you haven't watched my last couple videos, please take some time to do that, because we go very, very deep into what is to be expected. But here that we're only 3-4 days away from the end of Jubilee, I think it's important that today we just focus on one specific piece of information that's making its rounds around here, which has to do with this: the U.S. debt clock, the U.S. national debt, which is slowly, or shall I say rapidly, in my opinion, approaching $33 trillion very soon. Do we call this a coincidence? I'll let you decide. And apparently at this rate that it's moving, the U.S. national debt will hit $33 trillion by around October 9th. Now, shout out to Dave, one of the mods in our mastermind community, for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate you, brother. And October 9th happens to be a very special date, especially this year, which is all tied to the code of the number 23. So let's get into today's decode and make sure you are taking notes, because this is very important information, especially with how close we are to this event. So we brought up October 9th. Let's type that in, and we're going to start to make some connections. But again, I want you to just start off by taking note of the number 23 and how you're going to see in a moment how important that is. And if you've been following along this channel for some length of time, you know I've been bringing up this number a lot lately, because we're currently in the Hebrew year of 5,783, which has that 23. Again, the year that I'm calling Jubilee, we have that 23 connection. And we're just in the final days of the 5783 year. So if there's any number to be ritualized, it is this one. And we're going to break it all down right now. But you can see naturally, if we take from September 16th, which is the official day of Rosh Hashanah, and you compare it to October 9th, the date that we just pointed out, well, that's exactly 23 days apart. And if you look at the official day of Rosh Hashanah, it has a 23 standard date numerology. Now, if we go over to October 9th, we can see that 83 days left in the year is the 23rd prime number. So just between these two dates, you can see how this is all coming together. We're officially ending the Hebrew year of 5,783 on this date, which will be the last day of this year, which adds up to 23, which has a 23 standard date numerology, 23 days before October 9th, which is the day that leaves 83 days left in the year, which is the 23rd prime number. It's very important when you're looking at the dates that you start to make as many connections as possible with the numbers without going into more than just the two dates. This helps you just get a lot more dialed in your process. It will expedite your process in regards to going from a beginner level decoder to a much more advanced decoder. Now, with all of that out of the way, we talked about how this 23 is tying back to Jubilee. And again, that's what today's video is dedicated to. But we focus here on cryptocurrency. And with crypto, we know that the leader of the space, the energy of this entire crypto market, is Bitcoin. And we can see that 23 right there in Chaldean. And I've spoken about this in several videos. Now, this is going a little bit deeper, but this is all tied back to Mercury. Mercury being the messenger of the gods, but ultimately the god of e-commerce, of commerce, of fiat, and of crypto. Because with fiat, it's just belief. It's money created out of thin air. And that means that it will tie back to the idea of what crypto is. This is all just belief. It's fairy dust, and we all agree upon it. But ultimately, it's nothing like gold. It's nothing like having a skill. It's nothing like food. It's nothing like land. We know that anything tied back to Mercury is not actual real valuable stuff. It's just belief. And that's very important to note, because when we talk about actual wealth and actual value, or what could be just considered a much more respected value, that would be tied back to Pluto, or Hades, but we can't get too much into that now. To stay on track here, this 23 connection back to Mercury, again, this is where we get the word merchandise and commerce, and I included e-commerce in there a little bit ago because that's just handing off the baton from the physical, tangible world of dealing with handing over cash at a store to moving that online. And we know that cryptocurrency is just, again, handing off the baton from fiat in the normal system we had, moving to ATMs, credit cards, etc., and then we get to blockchain technology. So in regards to the leader of blockchain, it is Mercury. But Mercury has something that it is subordinate to, and this is why the mythology is crucial here. And that's what makes this work that we're doing here stand out, is because we're tying all this code back to mythology. This is why it's important to be aware of Saturn and the influence of Saturn in all of this. Again, Saturn being Satoshi. So now that we have all of this out of the way, I told you today you're going to walk away with knowledge that 99% of investors are unaware of. And just getting going, first 10 minutes, I'm sure you've acquired quite a bit. So the day of Rosh Hashanah, exactly 23 days before October 9th, which lands on the day leaving 83 days left in the year, 23rd prime number. And I like to share this quite often. It's just a more advanced decoding strategy is to speak out your numbers. So 23 becomes 2 3s, and 2 3s is 33. 33 is your master number of transmutation. This is why it's always tied back to some form of ascended master or leader or savior of the age. Now, October 9th is the day that we could be seeing the U.S. national debt hit 33 trillion. So this aligns perfectly. And to tie the Gematria into all of this, we were talking about 23 and actually writing out the word. So 2 3s equals 41. And this is the hidden gem here. October 9th, the date that we've been talking about this entire video, starts the 41st week of this year. An absolute gem of a connection. And if you've been following my work for some time, you've heard me bring up the importance of the solar and lunar eclipses and their effect on markets, specifically for cryptocurrency. And we have our next solar eclipse on October 14th, which is literally in the same week as October 9th. The key date in today's decode, which happens to be, again, tied to this number 41. You mirror the number 41, you get to 14. 14 is 7 plus 7. And everything we've been talking about here on this channel tied back to Jubilee has to deal with the number 7, specifically 77, because 7 times 7 is 49, and then on the 50th year you practice biblical Jubilee. So the fact this date is during this week that we've been talking about, it tells me something important will be happening around this time frame. Here we've been prepared for something to go down on the world stage that could push this entire market and the entire financial environment into extreme uncertainty and fear. And we know in order for this to happen, the market maker needs to inject chaos into the system. And anyone who's been paying attention could see the writing on the wall, with the stock market near all-time highs and where monetary policy is at right now. Combine that with Christine Lagarde coming out probably 3 or 4 months ago talking about exposing that the European Central Bank, the ECB, will be making their decision, quote unquote, regarding CBDCs in the month of October. They aren't even hiding their agenda from us. They're telling us straight to our faces. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is definitely not financial advice, but with everything we've been talking about on this channel for this entire Jubilee year, it boils down to this very moment. And it's crucial to stay focused right now and don't get caught up in the distractions. If and when something happens, respond calmly and make sure to take action regarding your investment thesis. And do not have any confusion right now of what's going on. You got to stay clear. So if you do not have an investment thesis, this is obviously an important time to focus on developing one. That's what my crypto mastermind course teaches, and it comes with my entire exit strategy blueprint for free included in that course, as mentioned earlier today. So my courses are on sale until the end of this week, and this is a time where this knowledge can be converted into action, and you'll be one of the few who's not only prepared for this moment, but actually did something about it while the masses are blindsided. And actually, it's a reminder to all of us of how lucky we are to be in the know when most are completely unaware. And not only are we aware, but we're here together in this community collaborating during this time in history. What a time to be alive. Imagine having this awareness during the dot-com bubble, and then being the few actually taking action during that moment in history. That would be considered legendary today. But at that time, you would have been laughed at for investing in some of those companies that went through that sell-off. And here we are today. We have this awareness of ISO 222 compliant projects and where Bitcoin and Ethereum fit into the institutional side of the conversation, as well as the future tokenization of the stock market, a Bitcoin ETF on the horizon. So with all this knowledge, it would be a shame to not take action of what this market gives us in regards to a buying opportunity before what could be one of the last epic crypto bull run cycles in 2024. So again, I'm not telling you what to do, but I know what I will be doing. And just like all the other times during this channel that I took advantage of these dramatic swings in the market, this time is no different, and we're still calmly navigating this whole show. We spent countless hours working on our investment thesis and drawing up our plan, and now it's time to trade that plan without giving any of our energy to the distractions that happen on the world stage. Don't allow the bread and circus to steal your attention. Now is not the time for that. They're going to come at you from all angles with psyop after psyop. Don't fall for it. Stay in your lane. Stay focused. So we are just days away from the end of the Jubilee year, following that up with Yom Kippur on September 25th, the Day of Atonement. Definitely spoke about that in my last video, so check that out. Then we have this important date of October 9th that we talked about today, which could be the potential day that the U.S. national debt hits 33 trillion. And it's during the same week we have the solar eclipse. So I think now would be the perfect time to go into the charts and to see the effect of the first solar eclipse of this year on April 20th and how it affected crypto. So before we get into the TA, go ahead and give this video a like if you haven't already. Spread some love in the comments section. That's what we're all about here. Now, heading over to the charts, we have this time frame right over here, which was the start of a solar season. We had our first solar eclipse of this year on April 20th. I will bring up this chart. It actually shows you everything you need to know. So you can see marked down here at the bottom the dates of the solar lunar eclipse and then the upcoming. Now, if you look right here, this was the start of the year. All of these red boxes are when Mercury is stationed retrograde. We'll be getting into that in a moment. But you have how we started the 2023 year and we rose all the way into the first solar eclipse. Now, this is very important because then we had about a 2-month correction before taking another leg up, and it really wasn't much of an impressive move. It was more like a double top, essentially, kind of like one of those rare higher high bull traps, and that's pretty clear because of this correction that we're getting now. Essentially, we're just in this upper half of a horizontal trading range. So let's check out the lows that came in for Bitcoin before this move up into April 14th that happened right here. And we could see that from the March 10th correction to this move, it took about 34, 35 or so days. Now, interestingly enough, if we measure from our current microcycle lows, we will see it's somewhere around September 11th to be technical. And if we were to go over the same amount of time, you could see where it takes us. It is right to the next solar eclipse, pretty much the day after the solar eclipse into that starting week, trading week on October 16th. So Interestingly enough, if we were to take off of September 11th and measure it to the exact date of our solar eclipse, that's going to put us 33 days away. And we spoke about that number 33 earlier. But what intrigues me the most is measuring off of this April 20th solar eclipse and essentially trying to see the recovery time frame, which we would take from April 20th, and that brings us to around this date of June 21st. So we have this correction, and this would be the day that we essentially got right back into those same trading levels. So that 62 days is interesting because if I take off of the solar eclipse that we have coming on October 14th and I measure over 62 days, it's going to be taking us to right there on December 15th. Right around the December new moon. And I only bring this up because it's part of my thesis that whatever correction we get now or that are currently experiencing, I personally feel that we will be right back near our current yearly highs before the end of this year. So our current yearly highs are sitting there right between 31, 32K. That would mean that before the end of this calendar year, it would not shock me moving into 2024 to see Bitcoin around $30,000 to $32,000. Now, what that would mean for XRP is around a 70-cent XRP happening simultaneously. So essentially, today's prices are still in an accumulation range. For those that are new to investing or are curious of when the best time to buy is, well, first off, some investing wisdom I'm about to drop on you. There is no perfect time to buy. And when people are chasing the perfect time to buy or perfect time to sell, rarely they never sell because of greed. And when it comes to the time to buy, they FOMO in on pumps when they should be buying when there's blood in the streets. So just glancing at these charts right now, we're technically in the lower area of an accumulation range. Anyone with a long-term investment thesis would see these prices we're looking at right now are still discounted compared to where things are headed, especially for a project such as XRP. And we will get into that in a moment. But I wanted to take some time to see how this recent solar eclipse in April affected Bitcoin and how we seem to pivot in energy perfectly leading up to that eclipse. I'd suspect this time will be no different. Again, all roads are pointing to more down than up, just for now though, which means buying opportunities. So I'm optimistic because buying opportunities are definitely what we need before the next Bitcoin halving. Now, I told you guys that I would get into this Mercury retrograde analysis. This is just the red boxes when Mercury station retrograde. I don't want to get too complicated here, but I do want to go back to this moment of September 2022 because this recent iteration of Mercury retrograde is eerily similar to what happened back in September 2022. Now, let's look at what's going on here. We have a correction leading into the start of Mercury retrograde. We have a correction leading into the start of Mercury retrograde. Then during Mercury station retrograde, we have a fake out pump and dump. Here we go. We have this pump and dump right back into our support, Then we're sideways throughout a majority of Mercury retrograde. You could see the same situation. Choppy and sideways, and then leading into the solar eclipse, which we are now doing today, well, this timing is essentially perfect. And then there was a shakeout during the eclipse. You can see this moment right here where we were holding these levels between the solar and lunar eclipse, and then we just dumped. Now, I just wanted to point out some of those similarities, moving down, fake out, shakeout, sideways, moving into eclipses, moving down, fake out, pump and dump, sideways, moving into eclipses. That's really it. Now, the big difference from a more esoteric perspective is that during September 2022, we were in a lunar cycle, which made lunar eclipses stronger. And this is why we had a big correction during these lunar eclipses. And specifically, crypto was ritualized during these lunar eclipses in 2022. Notably, we had Terra Luna collapse on the May lunar eclipse. Then in November, we had what happened to FTX, FTT token, and Sam Bankman-Fried, both happening on back-to-back lunar eclipses. You can't make this up. So I bring this up because we are no longer in a lunar cycle anymore since April 20th. This is important. We entered a solar cycle right here. So now solar eclipses are stronger. And I've shared this several times over in my mastermind community over on Patreon. Again, appreciate your support if you're over there hanging out with the wolf pack, that we tend to move sideways and down into the second solar eclipse of our solar cycles. Now, I've made full videos on this in my Patreon. I don't have the time to get into that today, but there has been several iterations of bull runs in Bitcoin. We're always moving up during solar cycles. We're always going into what's called a bear market during lunar cycles. That's just the way this coin works. It is effectively the sun of this market. Now, what I've shared many, many times is that this second iteration of a solar eclipse is where we are heading into slight down, holding sideways, but we do not get lower lows. So whatever lows are planted here in November before moving into official start of a solar cycle is always the lowest lows you get on Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be the case on altcoins. We're talking specifically about Bitcoin right now, which also shows that moving into a solar cycle is when Bitcoin regains a majority of its dominance, and we could see from 50 to 60% dominance in the next phase of what I'm calling phase 2 of the bull run, which I think we'll need to get through the end of this year in order to confirm that we're in that phase. But for now, I think this is just an important thing to mention, that we're doing the same thing we always do over and over again. We have not really changed course. What we're doing right now is pretty much identical to the prior cycles. So remember, this market runs on Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology. That's the code that runs this show. Specifically, those that are into astrology, you know what I'm saying. So this is why over here, the waters above wolves have an edge on this market. When we combine this knowledge with technical analysis, it makes this one of the most comprehensive and accurate systems any investor could have in their toolkit. So looking back at prior iterations of these solar eclipses during the solar cycle, it seems any correction that we get during this phase that we're talking about coming soon is really the best discounts available. And Bitcoin tends to continue its uptrend after this moment and will maintain its uptrend all the way until the next all-time high. Even with this moment right here of the C19 crisis, we see that here we had our so-called bull run top, blow off top. We moved into a selling climax or a low in our cycle. Then we had right here in the start of July, we effectively moved into what I'm calling a solar cycle. Now look at after the solar cycle. Even though we had this big C19 crash, we never went lower than what we got back here in December of 2018. And this was during a life-changing event for everyone on the world stage. Okay, so this is really important to know. Now, I'm not saying that it is impossible for Bitcoin to go below 15K. Anything is possible in the matrix, but given that we have multiple iterations of the same cyclical pattern, I wouldn't bet too much on it. I would probably put it into the 10 to 15% likelihood that Bitcoin goes lower than 15K at this point. But we have to be open-minded to it, and I will let you know if we do go to 15K, that will be absolutely devastating for altcoins. A lot of altcoins will probably go to zero if we see Bitcoin breach 15K and go lower. Now, that would mean that it's not good at all to be in altcoins if you're a believer that we're going to see sub 15K Bitcoin. I'm not trying to start any controversy here. It's just the way it is. So please be careful at this time. And that's why for me, I think it's just super crucial to get your emotions out of this game and to have a long-term thesis. And if we were to see anything close to 15K Bitcoin, that's just a buying opportunity for me. So I'll take whatever the market gives me. So I'm definitely taking this data seriously in regards to how I'll be responding to any corrections moving forward. To me, it's all just an opportunity to accumulate in preparation for the next bull cycle, which I see being in 2024. So let's just get into some quick traditional analysis really quickly. We're going to be turning off all this noise and we're just going to look at where we're at with the candles. So we're technically holding higher low structure. We did not close a daily candle lower. Right there, we're pretty much equal to where we were back here on June 13th. So we haven't effectively broken trend yet. We have low, higher, low, technically holding, and then we have high, higher, high, and technically a higher high. So in regards to trend, we're still holding. We've had what's seemingly a double top and now seemingly in this microcycle, what looks like a double bottom. A huge W in the making. I'm not calling for that because, like I said, I'm more feeling down. But in the short term, moving into this time frame we're in right now, which is the new moon, it's not weird for us to be getting a little bit of relief. And I just showed you before what's likely based off of that. And now I have one more quick chart to bring up that I believe we've talked about a couple of times, and it's this firmament dome chart. And it shows that if we were to move up a little bit more, like let's just say into the next FOMC meeting, it would put us somewhere at a rejection of around 27,500, about 27,500. Again, that's just another lower high in our microstructure. So nothing to throw a party over until we're starting to break like 30K Bitcoin on 2-day, 3-day, 5-day candle closes. There's no 33, 34 plus Bitcoin in sight. It's more likely that we have a little bit of correction in the short term, V-shaped recovery, keep it moving into Q1, election year. We see how it goes, rinse, repeat. Again, just buying opportunities. So let's look at where we're at with some of the EMAs, MAs. We see that our 55 is sloping to the downside, about to cross the 200 simple. That's not the greatest sign because when we got over it over here in the other fashion, when the 55 crossed above the 200 simple in February 8th of 2023, that actually is what perpetuated a continuation pattern. And the last time we back tested the 200 with a really bullish bounce, but now we're trading below that level and we're about to see that cross in the other direction again, implying more downside for now. Also, RSI is kind of just hovering here at this 50 level, continuing to get smacked down a little bit, but technically in bullish control. Let me turn off these MAs, and we're just looking at the EMAs right now. Now, we can see a rejection over here on the 34 EMA. We're pretty much approaching that right now. If we were to close above it, that's no time to start a party. What we want to see is this whole band flip more of a bullish posture. So we want to see the 13 cross above the 21, cross above the 34, and be in that fashion. If that was the case, it's in bullish posture, and we could definitely entertain a move up to like 29, 30K Bitcoin. So we're more in a bearish essence right now, and that's pretty obvious looking at these charts. Now, if we look at the weekly, we could see that's definitely the story. 13, 21, 34 EMA coiling up, all showing resistance, especially this 34 going on 28 days, pretty much a whole month. Again, not looking so good. Weakness. Now, we have the 55 simple sitting here at about 23K Bitcoin. That would definitely be the next level to look for downside. And then on a monthly, I do feel like this is a weird territory because Bitcoin is starting to lose volatility cycle after cycle. It's gaining less, it's losing less. And these MAs are really squeezing all together between 24 to 27. That's pretty tight band to consider. And we're not going to go too much deeper into this today because it's just going to complicate things. Needless to say, all of this is really looking like more down than up at this time. But in the ultra short term, I'm talking about between when you watch this video and the next FOMC meeting on the 20th of September, do not be surprised for a little relief, but more, again, the longer term thesis. We're not just playing our game off of what happens in a single trading week. We need to expand out, zoom out a little bit. It's more than likely we're heading down. And this whole level here between 21 to 20 would be a nice level to fill. If that was to happen, that would be devastating for altcoins, and you'd probably get some really nice discounts on those. So just really be weary of where you're at with your investment thesis right now, what you're looking to accumulate, because I do personally feel the thing that is likely to make this market more sophisticated and for there to be a positive perpetual movement in the grand scheme of things for crypto would be a shitcoin washout, would be a meme coin washout. And that's kind of what I think most of us that are watching this here would want most, especially if you're invested in the ISOs. When we have a huge washout of the bad actors, that's what will promote the growth and the strength and the increase in market cap for things such as XRP. So I know that's an interesting thesis, especially for those that only believed in the SEC case coming to fruition would be what solves the problem. But I've been very vocal that's not my take on things. And we watched how that all went down with XRP, going pretty much directly to my price targets and then correcting right back down. So let's get into XRP really quickly. And just to revisit something that I shared over here on Twitter at Waters Above, just make sure you got that spelling correct, because there are many people who pretend to be me. You could always go to my Linktree link, and there is all of my official links. And I do not offer a copy trading service or any bot trading services, none of that. That is a scammer pretending to be me. But anyways, I shared this tweet maybe yesterday, a couple days ago, and it is talking about this 41 cents next, and then by the end of the year 70 cents. So you heard me go over that a little bit ago, but I know that this is going to bring up some controversy. People are thinking we're going to go much lower. People are going to think that we're going to go like straight to $1. But my analysis tells me that, again, in the short term, between now and the next week, we could totally see like a 50-cent XRP, but we are more likely to hit the low 40s first before we get back to 70. And the timing of this could all happen very quick. We could literally be moving into 2024 back in 70 to 80 cent range, as if none of this ever happened. So just be considerate of that. Whatever we're getting right now and leading into what could potentially be coming soon, which is a fill of this wick, even slightly lower into this horizontal support, that would be what I believe is one of the best buying opportunities. And if we're going to go any lower than that, that would be sort of trend reversal throughout this whole year, and that would be extremely problematic. So I don't really want to entertain that just yet. I want to see this whole level get traded down into and see how it respects it, and then we'll take it from there. But like any investment thesis, you want to have a dollar cost averaging plan. You don't just go all in one single buy because you think it's the best target. You need to break it up. I do 5 minimum, up to 10 and sometimes 15 investments, especially with things like XRP, which is my second biggest holding. So again, if we were to get anything below 41, I believe it will be short-lived. It'll probably be a quick bounce, V-shaped recovery, just like we've seen many times, like back here, when we had move up into the flared token distribution date and then huge correction with the SEC versus Ripple case. But look at the rebound off of it. Really quick off of that extended sell-off when it got dramatically oversold, and the rebound brought you right back up to the flare airdrop territory within just a couple months. So you see where I'm coming from, family. Whatever's to come next, it will be quick, short and sweet, and it will be one of the best opportunities. So I'm going to leave it there. I feel like I've gone over all of the ranges to consider, and just the overall investment thesis has been laid out according to what I'm planning on doing. And again, I do have this sale available on my website. It is now live. You can go over to watersabove.com and you can just click this at the top if you want. It will take you to this page, or you can just add any of these courses to the cart and you could use the promo code Jubilee. This will automatically take off a 20% discount for you. And you could use this promo code more than one time. So if you wanted to package the courses together, or if you wanted to buy it as a gift for a friend, it will work more than once. I really appreciate all of your support. It really means the world to me. Looking forward to see how the rest of this weekend goes. And I hope to be doing a live stream this upcoming weekend on the day of Rosh Hashanah. That's going to be really exciting to join that and hang out with you guys for a little bit. So I appreciate all of your support. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.